Hi everyone, and welcome to PointIt's newest webinar, Everything You Need to Know About Content Marketing. Just a little bit of information about the webinar up front. This is being recorded, and the video will be uploaded to the website afterwards, along with the slide deck. Now this is an interactive webinar, so it's okay to ask questions during the presentation. And at the end of the webinar, we're going to have 10 to 15 minutes of Q&A, so any questions you ask will be answered then. Just a little bit about PointIt. We launched in April of 2002. We're Seattle's largest independent search marketing firm. We specialize in SEM, SEO, web design and development, and marketing automation. And we manage 30 million in managed media per year. We service clients across all verticals and revenue models, from Microsoft and Rhapsody to local mom and pops. So what is content marketing? In a nutshell, it's presenting what you have in an appealing way to the right audience at the right time. Content marketing really isn't terribly complex. I've always firmly believed that if you understand your audience well enough, virality can be engineered, but it requires that you do the legwork up front to know your audience, to learn what appeals to them on a deep emotional level, to find who the influences are for your audience, and to determine how best to reach them and to get your content seeded. Proper previous planning and all that. Now, content marketing isn't about selling, at least not directly. It's about connecting with your audience on an emotional level and about making their lives better in some small way. When you do those things and connect that to your brand, you create a positive brand experience, and that's a huge thing. Now, I'd like to say that there isn't some great secret that will grant your content marketing efforts with the Midas touch of virality, but really there is. If there is a secret to content marketing, this is it. The man on the right here is Simon Sinek, and this is what he refers to as the golden circle, his key to crafting a remarkable message. If you've never heard of Simon or the golden circle, you're missing out. He gave a brilliant TEDx talk a few years back that talks about this, which you can watch with this bit.ly link. When it comes to content marketing, and really any form of marketing or branding for that matter, first impressions and appearance matter enormously. The human brain makes up its mind in a matter of seconds, so that's all the time you have to plant the hook. The vast majority of people out there respond to things emotionally, long before logic sets in. So content marketing that consists of a nice logical list of why your widget or service is great does you absolutely no good. That's the what, and that's the last thing you should be talking about. Likewise, explaining how your widget or service works also shouldn't be your first step. It's an important second step, but a poor first impression. That's the how. Creating great content is about appealing to people on an emotional level, and to do that, you need to start with why. Why should anyone care about your content? What does it do for the people who encounter it? Does it make them happy? Does it make them laugh? Does it make them smarter or richer or improve their lives in some way? If the answer is no, then your content will fail and probably shouldn't be built in the first place. The world has enough crappy content, and good enough content doesn't cut it anymore. Remember, start with why.
So what are the main content types? There are a lot of different content types out there that can be used as a content marketing vehicle. The most popular are blog posts. One company that has based its business around incredible blog posts is SEO Moz. They're creating interesting, well-developed, and well-researched content daily that attracts thousands of visitors. Even better, they're getting others in the industry to write their content for them. Videos are another incredible content marketing tool. Over 4 billion hours of videos are watched each month on YouTube. A Forbes study showed that 59% of senior executives prefer to watch videos instead of reading text. This shows that there are demographics out there that prefer videos, so use them. Infographics, memes, or other images are also great content marketing tools. Another content type is your own website. You can add new pages or change your current pages to be more interactive and more interesting. Try adding some cool functionality or even a new web tool and watch visits and inbound links increase. Creating audio tracks or podcasts can be an excellent form of content, as there are online users that prefer to listen to information rather than read text or watch video. Conducting interviews with knowledgeable people in your space can draw a lot of attention, traffic, authority, and positive sentiment. Keep in mind that your content does not have to be online. They can be offline too. You can throw events that would generate a buzz for your business. You can do radio ads or billboards. Or you can even do something that the Embassy Suites did, where they creatively redesigned their Do Not Disturb door hangers to say, "Constructing a pillow fort. Come back later." Dozens of guests saw these and were compelled to take a picture of these door hangers and post them online, giving their brand awareness, visibility, and positive sentiment. The famous Google puzzle billboard is also a great example of using offline content marketing. And you can see that Kevin Mitnick, a famous hacker and security expert, has taken his business card into the realm of content marketing. How cool is that? It's important to remember that virality isn't just about getting the most amount of views that you can. It's more about targeting your content to the right people. Gangnam Style was one of the biggest viral hits in the past year. It got over 1 billion views, but their views were from every single type of demographic on the planet. A business would want to aim for that same type of interesting or funny content, but with their target audience in mind. Just like website visits, it's way better to get 1 million targeted views than 1 billion random ones.
Now, content marketing, when properly executed, really is the holy grail of marketing. Nothing else can trigger the reaction you want from your audience more efficiently or effectively. Great content can make you happy. Great content can make you cry. It can make you angry, make you think, make you laugh. When content triggers an emotional response, the brain takes that information and makes a connection. A neural pathway is formed. Then the next time your brand is encountered, the brain surfaces the feelings you felt the last time you encountered that brand. This is why a positive brand experience is key. Once the brain makes up its mind, it's very hard to change. So by going through the content marketing process the right way, you can make sure that you create the right type of content for your audience, the type of content that will appeal to them in a way that they'll remember and think of positively the next time they see or think of your brand. Before you start this process, though, you're going to need a few things. First, you need to know what you have to work with. What assets are at your disposal? Now, I'm a big Princess Bride fan, and thinking about content marketing and resources makes me think of this scene in the movie. Wesley could barely walk, and yet he needed to storm a castle with a locked gate guarded by 60 men, and all he had to work with was a wheelbarrow, a cloak, a giant, and a semi-crazy sword-wielding fatherless Spaniard. Tricky to say the least. Maybe you don't need a giant and a crazy Spaniard with a sword, but you're going to need resources to execute any content marketing effort. And perhaps rounding up resources in your business might seem like a similar challenge. At the very least, you'll need the ability to create content in one of the formats previously mentioned. Now that could require writing skills, coding skills, photography skills, videography skills, design skills. You need to figure out what you want to create and then determine if you have the resources to create it. If you're missing some needed resources, that's okay, but you're going to need to figure out how to get those resources or how to do without. Now, getting resources might be the hardest part of content marketing, or it might be the easiest. Every business is different, but your resources are going to dictate what content you can create, so you need to sort this out first.
So how do you know who your audience is and where they are? Can't aim for everyone. That's not a strategy. To execute a content marketing strategy, you need to know who you want to target. The good news is that there are a ton of tools and resources available to determine your ideal audience. The first step is to always start with your own company data. Dive into your analytics and see where your traffic is coming from. Look into your CRM software and your internal databases. Now expand. Ask yourself, who should I send my content to? Who out there would share my content? Where do my targets spend their time? Answer these questions and stick to them as your rubric. Don't worry about the concept as much right now. That will come only after you thoroughly understand your audience and where you can reach them. Now, no content marketing effort should begin until you've defined what success looks like, as what gets measured gets managed. Figure out your KPIs and tie those KPIs to something that impacts the bottom line. Track everything. Use Google Analytics, Bitly, Facebook Insights, KISS Metrics, Open Site Explorer, whatever you have, use it to track what your process is. If success is a phone call, have call tracking in place. If your content is direct mail, make sure you track the leads coming from the mailer using a special phone number for call tracking, a special URL for tracking website visits, or unique coupon codes. If you create a piece of content, You should be able to track its impact and how it has added value to your business.
Now, who can succeed with content marketing? The answer is absolutely anyone. Yes, even you over there with the boring niche. I was attending an SEO networking event recently, and someone in the audience said, well, what about content for boring niches? I have a client that makes lawnmowers. What could I possibly create for them that would be worth sharing? So I jumped in and said, really? The possibilities are endless. You could take those lawnmowers and use them to write crazy messages in lawns or sports fields, and then record the process with time-lapse video, speed it up, and put it on YouTube. You could use lawnmowers to go cut crop circles in some farmer's field, record those, and put those on YouTube, and then put out a press release from the farmer whose field the crop circles appeared in, and link to the YouTube videos from the press release. You could get a field, modify some lawnmowers to be remotely driven, and then run a contest that lets the winner write a message in the field by remotely controlling the lawnmowers via the company website. Maybe you could even partner up with a company like Sphero, who creates a little remote-controlled sphere that you drive with your iPhone to do something like this, and that way you could share the cost with another brand. You could soup up some of their lawnmowers and have them race. You could bundle lawnmower sales in select cities with TaskRabbit credits, so you could have people come and mow your lawn for you with your new mower. Now, this is a list I came up with on the fly in the middle of a networking event. Give us 30 to 60 minutes to brainstorm with a few other people. You could have dozens of amazing ideas for any industry. There's just no such thing as a boring niche. You just need some creativity to do well. So I firmly believe that any industry can create great content. You just need to get a creative mind behind it.
One of the greatest recent content marketing campaigns was Felix Baumgartner's base jumping from the Earth's stratosphere for Red Bull's Stratus mission. The Red Bull's live cast was their content that they were marketing, and it was hands down one of the coolest and most unique marketing campaigns and gave Red Bull a lot of visibility and a lot of on and offline mentions. Granted, this sort of stunt is outside the reach of the average company, but this gives you an example of what a free thinking company will do and what is possible.
Another great example is the Dollar Shave Club. Now, these guys bootstrapped their own company long before taking funding, and this viral video only cost them $4,500 to make. With almost 10 million views and significant growth post-video, this was a fantastic use of marketing dollars. It's certainly edgy, but it quickly and effectively appeals to their target market. So, if you have relatively low budget, but you still want to do something awesome, video can be one of the best mediums to do that with. Another really great example is Blendtec. So the company Blendtec did something really similar to Dollar Shave Club with their Will It Blend videos. The cost to create their first video was like $500, and each subsequent video has been relatively inexpensive to make. Now, the story behind how they landed on this idea was really cool. So George Wright is the head of marketing at Blendtec, and he'd recently started there and was walking around their offices and found a room with a blender on a table and little bits of 2x4s and sawdust all over the place. And he went and asked, what's up with this room? And he said, oh, well, that's where Tom does all his experiments. Whenever he makes a change to the blender design, he goes and blends 2x4s to make sure that it's going to work well. And instantly a light bulb went off, and George was like, this is it. This is what we're going to use to market our company. And so he got a budget of $500, bought an iPhone, tossed it in a blender, and recorded it and put it on YouTube. And the rest is history. Since then, their YouTube channel has over 550,000 subscribers, and they've had over 200 million views to their videos. Now, that is some serious reach. And anyone who's seen these videos who needs to buy a blender is definitely going to remember this company. They did a great job of making their product the star of the show without being overly commercial about it. Another really good example, one with which you're probably familiar, is the Old Spice Smell Like a Man videos. If you haven't seen these, you definitely need to go watch them. These videos would probably be considered one of the greatest content marketing efforts ever. Like the Dollar Shave Club video, the cost to make each video was relatively low. These were a little more expensive, but the response has been absolutely phenomenal. These videos have spawned a lot of spoofs and memes and amassed a ton of media coverage. Overall, one of the coolest parts of the Old Spice campaign was the real-time aspect. So anybody could go onto Twitter, send a message to the brand, and then they would respond by creating a video on the fly and loading it up for that one person, responding directly to individuals, which was genius. Being able to do that, having an average person be able to interact with and be called out by a brand in such a great way was what helped these to really go viral.
So GoPro, the versatile camera company, has come up with a simple and effective content marketing strategy. They created an amazing product that people can use anywhere and had their users create their viral content for them. At least one GoPro video is tagged, titled, and uploaded to YouTube every minute. Since GoPro users are primarily adrenaline junkies and people who are active, the content they record is usually quite amazing and engaging, which in turn adds to its virality. I've seen GoPro videos of surfers riding on waves, referees officiating major soccer matches, and soldiers in Afghanistan in gunfights. All of the content is incredible, and it's then associated with the GoPro brand. Content marketing doesn't have to mean that you create the content yourself. Let your consumers who love your products market it and spread the word.
So another cool example, SEO Moz is a software as a service company in the SEO space located here in Seattle. And a couple of years ago, they decided to run a contest called Mozcation. And the goal of this, basically, SEOs anywhere in the world could go online and create cool content and telling SEO Moz why their city was great and why SEO Moz should come and hold their Mozcation in that city. So SEOs from every corner of the globe built content, including me and a few other SEO companies. So I was living in Utah at the time, and me and 3 other companies decided that we wanted the Mozcation to happen in Salt Lake City. So we set about building websites and videos and getting social mentions and links and building up a really huge visible presence for this contest. We really wanted to get SEO Moz to come to Salt Lake City. And sure enough, when it came time for the winners to be announced, we won. Salt Lake City was the first city that was picked. And in fact, it went so well that SEO Moz ended up going to 4 different cities, more than they had originally intended. Now, the value of this to SEO Moz, not only did it get them a lot of positive sentiment from the SEO community, but they got a lot of links and social mentions out of it as well. The Mozcation page on their website has had over 200 links, over 800 tweets that mention that specific URL, and then thousands and thousands of other brand mentions tied to Mozcation. But one of the coolest parts of this was all of the content that holding these events generated. In every city where they attended, there were blog posts written about it, there were pictures taken at each event, and those pictures were then loaded up onto Facebook and tagged with the people who attended. There were videos that were made and loaded up onto YouTube, and there were slide decks that were created and put up on Scribd and SlideShare. So not only did they have a great event with people in their space, but they created tons and tons of content from these events. If you're looking to do something like this, have an event, if you have the budget, an event is a great way to build a lot of content. And this was actually so successful for SEO Moz that they did it again the following year.
Now, we know you can't see this whole page for our presentation, so visit the link up there. This page is amazing. The Manloy's content marketing guide is really, really cool. This company has created this interactive, fun guide that uses a variety of coding tactics to display their content in a creative way. Building content like this on your site can be an effective way to build links, attract traffic, and garner press mentions. It can also be a great portfolio piece leading to additional business. This is another great example of an awesome web page that's almost like an interactive infographic, using a variety of coding tactics to display interesting content in a creative way. Best of all, they built a page that mentions some of the biggest brands out there, companies that Seer Interactive would certainly love to have as clients. By building this page, they've drawn the attention of these companies and have shown the type of quality and creative work they can do. When it comes to content marketing, creativity can mean big money. All you need is a concise, formulated strategy and careful execution.
A little bit of background on this one, actually. So not last year. Was it last year? I think it was. It was last year. So at MozCon, it's an SEO conference put on by SEO Moz. Tyler and I were there, and Will Reynolds, who owns Seer Interactive, spoke. And he had a deck on real company stuff, talking about how companies can go above and beyond and be great. And so after that talk, he decided as a company they would practice what they preached. And this was the first piece of real company stuff they created up on their website to show what could be done. So this is a great example of content marketing. Another cool example that I heard recently. So I was attending a networking event a few months back, and Justin Briggs, who's the senior marketing manager at Big Fish Games, came and spoke about content marketing. And one of the coolest examples he shared was this one, the Game Chic. So Amanda Himmons, the daughter of Big Fish Games' Portuguese language editor, popped up on an email chain internally because her daughter's art was featured on the Huffington Post, where she turned the characters from the movie Avengers into girls' dresses. Now, Justin saw this and was like, aha, this is right up our alley. We can create some great content with this. So he chatted with Amanda a bit more. When asked, she said she wanted to turn characters like Thor and Hulk into dresses because comic books and action movies are generally made for men by men. The fact that women like them too is apparently incidental. Now, Big Fish has featured plenty of heroines like Nancy Drew and Agatha Christie in their games, but most traditional retro and console game heroes have been primarily male. So they wondered what these iconic characters and color combos would look like as female fashion statements. And so they had Amanda create some mock-ups of what that might look like. Maybe next time the major publishers will remember to include a character or two for the girls. So this is just a little bit of an image about what these dresses look like. If you follow this link, you'll be able to see all of them in full detail. And this is awesome. This was an absolutely brilliant piece of content marketing. It's really, really hard to go wrong with creative content that leverages pop culture in an appealing way. And best of all, they built something that appeals directly to their target market, which is female gamers. Now talk about perfect content marketing.
Although Google has come out and said that infographics have become too spammy as of late, a well-made infographic can still be phenomenally effective. With a well-made infographic, you can expect to draw links, press mentions, referral traffic, and enhance branding. Infographics can be expensive and can be somewhat a shot in the dark, so make sure that you have a captivating concept and incredible unique design that will incite viewers to share it. In this example, REI has made an infographic that indirectly encourages people to buy their products. Each infographic includes things you can buy at REI, presented in a creative, helpful way. They appeal to their target audience and are backed by a very effective marketing machine that knows how to distribute content effectively. After you've created your amazing infographic, distribution is key. Get it in front of the right people and the influencers in your space that have a track record of sharing great content.
So another great example is the Advanced Guide to SEO created by Neil Patel on his blog QuickSprout. So after seeing how well SEO Moz's Beginner's Guide to SEO had done, and that guide on SEO Moz has 17,973 external links just to that page, not to mention a mind-boggling amount of traffic that's come in over the years from that guide. So Neil saw this and was like, well, there's no advanced guide. There's no really good resource for advanced SEO out there. And so he decided to build one. Neil's guide, which has been up for just 2 months, has already received 3,404 links. So it's off to a fantastic start. Now, if you could build one piece of content that could generate thousands upon thousands of relevant links and a significant amount of relevant traffic, wouldn't you? The idea for an SEO guide wasn't original, but it didn't need to be. It filled a need for the right community. If you can look at your community, at your industry, and think, all right, well, what are resources that I use that I hate that could be better? Or what's a resource I wish existed, but I can never find? That's the type of thing you need to build. If you build that sort of content for your space, something that will be helpful and make their lives easier, it'll be a hit.
Matt Cutts is the head of Google's web spam team, and he often puts up videos answering questions that people have asked him. The Shortcuts.com is a simple yet incredibly awesome content marketing piece that's just taking Matt Cutts' videos and trimming them down to the actual answers to the questions so that you don't have to sit through lengthy filler at the beginning and after of the video. The really cool thing about this site is that you have the ability to search by the color of Matt's shirt that he wore in the video, and that makes it really mentionable online. The insight you can gain from this website is that content marketing doesn't even have to involve coming up with some great new piece of information. It can be as simple as taking existing information and packaging it in a new, useful, and creative way.
So if you think you have a boring industry, a space where you just can't possibly do anything creative, you might be surprised. What could possibly be more boring than plumbing and sanitation? And yet here you have this infographic, Why Plumbers Are Heroes. You have a great page coded in a cool way that conveys a lot of interesting and in some cases gut-wrenching and heart-wrenching information. It's well-made, it's memorable, and it's worth sharing. It's full of statistics on global water availability and sanitation and the people who are affected by a lack thereof. So from my perspective, this is a slam dunk. Instead of talking directly about plumbing, they talked about things that touch on plumbing, that are closely around their industry, and built something amazing out of it. This is a great piece of content marketing for something that you might think would be a boring space. Now, I'm a big fan of the book The Lean Startup, and what you see here is the build, measure, learn cycle. Now, I don't like all of the book, but I like most of it, and it's a really smart book. If you've never read it and you're involved with building things, go read it. Now, content marketing is not a one-and-done sort of activity. There's no Showtime rotisserie here, no set it and forget it. If you're going to do content marketing the right way, it's going to be a process of building, measuring, and learning. You need to go out and have an idea and build it. And then you need to measure it to see what happens, good or bad. You need to learn from your successes and your failures, and then start the process over again. When you first get started, you want to go through this cycle as quickly as possible until you determine exactly what works for your audience. It might help to think of it in cooking terms. You're not looking for one good recipe that you can create over and over. You're looking for reliable ingredients that you can use in many different recipes. When you've had a couple of solid content marketing successes in a row, you're probably on the right track for your space. At the same time, though, understand that your first effort is probably going to suck. It's not going to be the best. Maybe you'll get lucky, but you're probably going to have to go through this cycle and get better and better over time as you learn and try new things. And that's okay. It's a learning process, and it will be for everybody.
So you have this great piece of content that you've created, and you're proud of it, you think it's going to work. You're going to ask yourself now, how do I get people to see it? There's a ton of incredible mediums that you can use. Of course, there's your own website. There's Scribe, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, SlideShare, Google+, Reddit, and much more. Figure out where your target is and how they get their information, and spread your content through these sources.
And obviously, you're not limited to these. Once you determine, you've already determined where your audience is and what kind of information they like, you can use that same information to determine all of the different little spaces they might be hanging out in. Maybe they're still on MySpace, or maybe there's a couple of really popular forums in your industry. You don't have to just focus on the large social platforms. You want to make sure you go where your audience is. That's the most important place to place your content.
Yeah, it goes back to one of our earlier points is know who your audience is and find them. That's the first step. Dig into the analytics, dig into your CRM. Figure that stuff out first, and then go attack it that way.
So another good thing you can use, once you've determined what places you want to have your content live, whether it's on your website or on a social channel or on YouTube, once you know where it's going to be, you can actually get a lot of mileage by using ads to support your content marketing. So paid advertising can be a great way to do this. Take infographics, for example. One of the best ways to seed an infographic historically has been by running some StumbleUpon ads. Now, StumbleUpon is a site that allows users to randomly hop through different websites that would be interesting to them. You can go in and set your preferences and show what type of websites you do or don't like, and then kind of randomly find other sites that people have listed in there. With StumbleUpon ads, your content is placed naturally into that discovery flow. So if your content is great, it can easily take off from there. Now, which advertising platform you use to support and distribute your content is going to depend largely on your audience and what you're trying to accomplish. If the content that you're creating is going to live on your website, I very, very strongly recommend that you run a retargeting campaign. That way, even brief visits to your content will enable you to get in front of those people again. If you do this, you want to make sure that you tailor the creative for that retargeting campaign to mesh well with the content that they saw and with your brand as a whole. You're going to want a clean blend of the two. And you're not limited to retargeting just on your website. Facebook has a retargeting platform. There are other options. Now, if you're trying to decide what sort of budget to put towards the advertising piece of content marketing, I'd personally recommend at least a 50-50 split. Spend half of your budget creating great content and spend the other half making sure that people see it and that the right people see it. The best content in the world is utterly worthless if nobody sees it. Yet, even average content can do amazingly well if it's marketed effectively. So make sure that you have a distribution budget in addition to your creation budget. At the end of the day, though, it's really simple, and it comes down to this. If you don't build it, they won't come. If you don't create amazing content, something above and beyond what other people in your industry are doing, the people or customers that you hope and dream will come won't come. You have to be willing to take risks, to build things, to try, to fail, and maybe to be a little bit crazy. No risk, no reward. Great risks, great rewards. We live in a content-driven world. The brain runs on content. It gobbles it up. The better the content, the more appealing it is to the brain. In fact, because we're bombarded with so much content, only the really exceptional things stand out and stay there. So it's just not enough to be good enough. You have to really knock it out of the park. And you can. It just takes some creativity and that effort to go through and build, measure, and learn, and try again. And that's it. Content marketing in a nutshell. So it's Q&A time. If you have any specific questions, feel free to ask away.
So we have a few questions that have come in. And the first one is, who in the company should own content marketing?
That's a good question. Off the cuff, I'd say the CEO. You know, it's ideal if the people at the top of the food chain have bought in and understand the value of content marketing. You know, if somebody in the C-suite doesn't know that it's important, you may have a really hard time getting the resources that you need to do content marketing well. But realistically, it's going to belong to whoever is over marketing for your company, whether it's a chief marketing officer or a director of marketing. Somebody, though, who's involved with marketing day to day needs to be involved in this. They need to own it because they're going to know best how to market for the company.
And it's also people that have the vision and can see and that are creative, people that can think outside the box. Because a lot of this isn't just straightforward marketing. It's creative thinking. So you need people on board that and controlling it that are free thinkers.
Yeah, somebody high up should own it, but your best ideas may come from the secretary, the person who talks to people all the time. Mm-hmm. You know, ask everyone. Maybe hold a company all-hands meeting and say, look, we want to do content marketing. We want to create something that will make our customers and potential customers' lives better and more interesting. What are your ideas? And there's no bad ideas. Take all the ideas and think about it, and then apply that to the research that you do. But definitely, somebody high up needs to own it, but take ideas from anybody at any level in the company.
So say I'm not the C-suite person, but I have this awesome idea. It's a little controversial. Should I get permission to do this, or should I just try it out and ask for forgiveness later, spend some money and do this thing?
Yes, it depends on your personal risk tolerance. You know, if you're risk averse, maybe you shouldn't.
And I guess how crazy the idea is as well.
And maybe, how you think people at the company might respond. Maybe the person in charge is a little risk averse, but when you do something and it goes really well, they love you for it. Maybe it's worth taking that risk. I've seen this before with clients where somebody internally is like, look, I know we need to do this. I know I'm not going to get buy-in for it, so let's just do it. We'll take the risk, and if it goes really well, awesome. And if it doesn't, I'll take the heat, but it's worth taking the risk.
Yeah, we've had some clients that, we've proposed them ideas for content marketing. They're like, well, that's not really our tone. That's not our vision. That's not what we've been putting out. And what we've done is we've just made it. We haven't put it out, but we showed it to them so they could see proof or an example of what we do. And they're like, okay, yeah, that's okay. That's actually really cool. And then they've put it out and have done something with it. And that kind of opened the door for more content marketing and more creative thinking in the future.
Yeah, and it may be that the people at the top don't know exactly what will or won't work. Maybe they're just not close enough to the problem to understand. So in some cases, I would say it might be worth just taking the risk. Create the content, put it out there, and see what happens. But it definitely comes down to how risk-averse you are.
So another question, and this is especially for the C-suite people who want to know this, what kind of budget do I need for content marketing? How much should I be spending? What's too much? What's too little? What do I spend on this thing?
And that's a pretty loaded, subjective question, but the answer could be as little as a few hours of somebody's time to write a blog post, and as much as tens of millions of dollars to launch somebody into outer space. It really depends. You need to figure out who your audience is and what it is you're trying to accomplish and go from there.
Yeah, and then thinking about, CPAs and CPLs, what is the cost associated per acquisition or lead? You guys start thinking about that as well. And it's going to go back to our previous point about planning and trying things out and going through the cycle a few times to figure out, what does this really cost? How expensive is this? What's our return? What's our average return? So think about that as well. Your cost per lead, your cost per acquisitions, your cost per action that's being taken.
Yeah, obviously you're going to be guessing early on. Until you've done some content marketing, you don't have any really solid numbers you could apply to your hypothesis. But make a guess. If you know how things have done in the past, you can try and work some of those numbers in and use those.
So the last question that we're going to go through today is, how do I convince my higher-ups that we should do content marketing? If it's new for a company and it's a little outside the box, what do you say? How do you convince these people?
I'd say the easiest way is probably to show them that they're behind one of their competitors. Go look at your competitors and find one of them that's doing good content marketing and say, well, look, these guys are doing great stuff, and they're getting links and social mentions and followers, and people are talking about them. We got to do this. We're falling behind. That works really well if there's somebody in your space who's already doing good content marketing. If, on the other hand, there's nobody in your space doing good content marketing, you can flip it around and say, guys, we got to get on this. This is doing really well for other industries. We need to be the first one in our industry to do it. Be the first mover advantage.
Yeah, it's just like anything with influence and convincing something. There's two parts, right? There's the numbers and there's story with it. So if you can show somebody numbers, that's compelling, especially the higher-ups who are controlling the budget, are thinking about spend. And then there's a story behind it, the creativity behind it. Look what somebody said about one of these pieces that our competitors did. Look at the kind of sentiment it's driving. You can also show them things on social media and say, look how many people are talking about this. It's amazing. Look what they're saying. Look how they're feeling about our competitors. They should be feeling the same thing about us because we're just as good, right? We do just as good work. We're just as knowledgeable about this space. They should be thinking about us in the same breath.
And that opens up another thing. So kind of diving back to where we were talking about tracking, it may be beneficial to have some social tracking in place and monitor sentiment. So as you're running through the build, measure, learn cycle, trying to figure out what works, it can be really helpful to monitor what people are talking about, how they're talking about your brand as each new piece comes out. Using that as one of your metrics to determine if what you're pushing out resonates well or poorly. And again, it's okay to have some things that don't work. You're going to have some bad eggs. You have to break a few eggs to make an omelet, right?
Yeah, manage expectations early on and say, hey, this is going to be our first try at this. We have some great ideas, but we have to see if this thing works. So manage the expectations of your higher-ups. Tell them that, hey, we have to try this. Let's try it. Let's see what we can do. And it might be slow to start, but we're going to learn from this. We're going to build on this. We're going to get better. And it's going to work out for us because every company is going to be doing this at some point in time.
And I think that's critical. Content marketing isn't something that, hey, maybe we should try or let's put a little budget towards this. Content marketing is going to be, at some point, the only thing that works. People are getting tired of being interrupted constantly with advertising. If your advertising is actually something that doesn't interrupt, that shows up when they're searching or that's recommended by their friends and that makes their lives better or more interesting or that makes them laugh or have a good time, that is perfect advertising. That's the type of thing that will never go away. People are never going to get tired of being surprised and delighted.
And that's true. It's not something that you're interrupting them with. It's now going to be something they're searching for, and looking at you to provide with them.
Or that's been recommended directly by a friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I saw this. This is amazing. Check it out.
Like now with the Stratus project, people are going to be wondering what Red Bull is going to be doing next. They're going to be looking for it and maybe visiting Red Bull's site more often, or buying their products, or going to more of their events, which, it strengthens their brand.
So that's it for our questions. If you come up with any other questions, Tyler and I's contact information is here at the end of the slide deck. The link at the bottom of this page, you can follow that to get to our webinar section on the site. Later today, maybe early tomorrow, we should have both the video and the slide deck up on the website. So if you have any questions, feel free to email us, hit us up on Twitter, and we'll answer those.
Yeah.
Thank you for attending.
Thank you all for attending and listening.